The vast expanse of space had always been humanity's greatest enemy and greatest ally. For centuries, humans had struggled to carve out a place among the stars, outnumbered and outclassed by the galaxy's ancient and powerful species. Yet, in their struggle, they found something unique: a relentless will to survive. And now, as the USF Vanguard cruised silently through the cold abyss toward Elysium 9, that will was about to be tested in ways no one could imagine. The crew aboard the Vanguard, an aging, under-equipped battleship, knew they were facing insurmountable odds. The ship's systems hummed quietly, its metallic frame groaning with every subtle maneuver. In the bridge, Captain Maya Ahern stood staring at the star map flickering before her, her fingers pressed against the cold glass as she traced the route toward the doomed colony. The silence on the bridge was deafening, broken only by the soft clinks and whirs of the ship's failing systems. "Captain," reported Ensign Lang, his voice tight with unease. "We're entering the Draxian blockade zone. We should be getting a transmission from the fleet soon." Ahern nodded, but there was no comfort in his words. The Draxian Dominion, an empire of cruel, technologically superior beings, was relentless. The Vanguard's mission was simple: deliver the last hopes of humanity to the colony of Elysium 9, a fragile outpost on the edge of Draxian-controlled space. It was supposed to be a peaceful mission, but it had turned into something far darker. The Vanguard was outgunned, outnumbered, and likely doomed from the start. "Prepare for the worst," Ahern muttered, but her voice didn't betray any fear. Just the cold, calculated resolve of a commander who knew what needed to be done. The crew had trained for this, even though they knew the odds were stacked against them. The comms console suddenly crackled to life, cutting through the tense silence like a jagged knife. A shrill voice echoed across the bridge, a voice that sent a chill down everyone's spine. "Human vessel, you are entering restricted space," the voice boomed. It was Tharok, the Draxian fleet commander, notorious for his brutal efficiency and cold disdain for lesser species. "You have no business here. Prepare to be annihilated." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving behind a thick silence. Ahern stared at the screen, her jaw clenched tight. There was no attempt at negotiation, no room for diplomacy, just a flat, unemotional declaration of their fate. The message was clear. The Draxians didn't just want to destroy them. They wanted to make an example of them, a warning to anyone who dared challenge their dominance. "There's no turning back now," Ahern said, her voice steady, but with an edge of determination that made the hairs on the back of everyone's neck stand on end. "Set course for Elysium 9. We deliver humanity's last message, or we die trying." As the ship continued its approach, the Vanguard sensors picked up something odd. At the edges of the system, just beyond the reach of their scanning range, there was a faint signal, almost too faint to detect. It was the unmistakable hum of a ship, but it was no known vessel. The tension in the air thickened. What was out there? A simple glitch in the system, or something else? "Captain," Lang said, his voice tight with uncertainty, "I'm picking up something. It's like a ship, but it's not on any of our charts." Ahern's heart skipped a beat. Was it an enemy ship lying in ambush, or something more? "Bring it up on screen," she ordered, her voice sharp as ice. The screen flickered, and an image began to take shape. A small, sleek craft drifting silently through space. It was completely unmarked, its design unfamiliar. The Vanguard's comms blared to life once again, this time with a voice that was strange, distant, almost ethereal. "Human ship, you are not alone. Your death will not be in vain. Fight, the galaxy is watching." The words hung in the air like a heavy weight. Ahern felt a cold shiver run down her spine. The unknown ship disappeared as quickly as it had appeared, leaving nothing but the echo of its cryptic message. For a moment, the bridge was completely still. Every crew member knew that the Draxians were closing in. The death of Elysium 9 was only a matter of time. But now, there was this strange, eerie warning, as if the universe itself was pulling humanity into something much larger than the crew of a single ship could comprehend. Are we supposed to be the prey or the hunters? Ahern whispered under her breath. The message was a riddle, and yet it carried the weight of something ancient, something far more significant than they realized. The crew exchanged uncertain glances. What had just happened? And who or what had sent that message? The Vanguard sailed deeper into the Draxian-claimed territory, its engines humming with strained effort. Every moment that passed felt like an eternity, the silence in the cockpit almost suffocating. The crew's nerves were stretched thin as they ventured into enemy space, unsure if they were the hunters or the hunted. But the unknown signal, the message that the galaxy was watching, lingered in Captain Ahern's mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that their mission had just become far more than a fight for survival. Something was shifting. Something. Watching. "Captain, I'm reading something strange," said Ensign Lang, his voice sharp with concern. His eyes flickered over the sensor console. "There's an anomaly ahead, just outside the orbit of Elysium 9. It's almost like the planet is missing." He hesitated, his fingers dancing nervously across the controls. There should be much more debris. What happened here? Ahern's stomach tightened. Elysium 9 was supposed to be a thriving human colony, its resources vital to humanity's future. But the planet had been silent for far too long. The Draxians were close now, and it felt as if something else was at play. "Bring up the visual," Ahern ordered, voice steady but betraying a hint of urgency. The view screen flickered to life, and the sight before them sent a cold shiver through the bridge. Elysium 9 was there, at least. The planet's skeletal remnants were. The once bustling human colony was nothing more than a barren, shattered husk. A massive, gaping crater marked where a city had stood, its structures reduced to little more than dust and smoldering ruins. The planet was devoid of any detectable life signs. No survivors, no ships, no signals. The crew stared in silence, shock settling over them like a heavy fog. The galaxy had always been brutal, but this was something different. "Where did they all go?" asked Lieutenant Kendra from Tactical, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Draxians, they didn't just bomb the planet. They erased it, every trace. This wasn't just an invasion. It's like they didn't want anyone to know humanity was ever here." Ahern's mind raced. Why would the Draxians go to such extremes? Why not simply wipe out the colony's defenses and leave it at that? "Captain, look at this." Lang's voice cut through her thoughts. His fingers danced over the controls, zooming in on the planet's remains. His face turned pale. "It's not just the planet. There's something else. A ship?" "No, I mean, hundreds of ships, just floating in the debris field like they're waiting. Not a single one has moved since the attack." Ahern's eyes narrowed. A fleet? But it didn't look like the Vanguard's kind of military. It wasn't Draxian. The ships were old, ancient even, but their designs were elegant, almost otherworldly in their precision. Whoever these ships belonged to, they weren't any species that Ahern had ever heard of. "Prepare to send a probe," Ahern ordered, a cold chill creeping up her spine. "Let's see what we can find." The crew worked swiftly, deploying a small probe to investigate the strange fleet. It drifted silently into the field of wreckage, its sensors scanning for any trace of life, any signs of movement. But as the probe closed in, a wave of static erupted across the comms, and the data link flickered. The screen went blank. "Captain, the probe." Lang's voice faltered. "The feed's cut. Something's jamming us. This isn't a normal interference." Ahern's hand gripped the back of her chair, her pulse quickening. Re-establish the connection. Now. But no matter how they tried, the probe refused to send any new data. It had been swallowed up by the debris field, like the ships themselves had been waiting for it, ready to cut them off at the first sign of investigation. The air on the bridge grew thick with tension. Ahern's mind raced. Was this some sort of trap? Or was something else lurking in the void, biding its time, letting humanity stumble blindly into its web? And then, something even stranger occurred. The Vanguard's sensors blipped once more, but this time, it wasn't an anomaly. The ship's long-range scanners picked up an incoming transmission. The signal was weak, distorted, but it was unmistakable. A voice. "Human vessel, you are not alone." Ahern's heart skipped a beat. Was it the same voice? The one from the mysterious ship that had contacted them earlier? Or had something else been watching from the darkness all along? Before she could respond, the transmission cut off. The Vanguard was no longer just in enemy space. It was caught in something much larger than any of them had realized. The static of the fading transmission still buzzed in the air, hanging like a shadow over the crew of the Vanguard. The eerie message had sent a chill through the bridge, but there was no time for contemplation. As the crew braced themselves for the unknown, Captain Ahern knew one thing for certain. They were no longer just fighting to survive. They were caught in something far deeper, far more dangerous. And whatever was watching them from the shadows of the galaxy wasn't finished yet. "Captain, the debris field's too dense," Lang reported, his voice tight with frustration. "We're not going to be able to scan the area properly unless we get closer." Ahern's mind raced. The ancient ships floating silently in the debris field had to be part of the puzzle. If only they could make sense of it all. But the enemy was closing in. The Draxian fleet would be there any minute. They had no choice. "Set a course," Ahern ordered, her voice calm but resolute. "Get us in range of that fleet. We need answers, and we need them now." The Vanguard pushed forward, engines humming as it sliced through the broken remnants of humanity's once proud colony. Every crew member held their breath, bracing for the moment when the unknown forces would reveal themselves, or worse, strike without warning. Minutes ticked by. But the ghostly silence of space was unnerving. The ship approached the fleet of mysterious vessels, each one drifting lifelessly among the ruins, their once glorious designs now faded and forgotten. The sight was haunting. A graveyard of ships that seemed to have been there for centuries, their origins unknown. It didn't make sense. How had they survived the brutal attack by the Draxians? And why were they still here? "Captain, we've got a direct hit on a ship's signal." Lang's voice broke the stillness. His eyes were wide with disbelief. "It's transmitting a coded message, but I can't make sense of it." Ahern's pulse quickened. They couldn't afford to waste time with cryptic messages, but this was different. Something about this felt significant. "Decrypt it. Now," she ordered, her eyes fixed on the screen. The seconds stretched into eternity as Lang worked furiously at the controls. Finally, after what seemed like an age, the message began to materialize on the screen, flickering and twisting into readable text. It was short, too short, and it sent a jolt through Ahern's chest. "You were not meant to find us." Ahern's eyes narrowed. The words were chilling in their simplicity, as if the message itself held the weight of a much larger truth. But before she could react, the comms console flared to life again, the screen showing a new image. A ship, unlike anything they had seen before, emerging from the darkness of the debris field. This one wasn't ancient. It was sleek, modern, and impossibly advanced. The ship was beautiful in its design, its dark hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. But it was the strange symbols etched along its surface, alien runes that seemed to shimmer and shift, that caught Ahern's attention. This wasn't a ship from any known race. "Captain," Kendra's voice trembled from tactical. "That ship is heading directly toward us." Ahern's hand instinctively hovered over the console. A gut feeling told her that this wasn't a random encounter. The ghost fleet, the strange message, it was all leading to this moment. "Raise shields. Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Ahern commanded, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Whatever this is, we're not letting our guard down." The bridge hummed as the crew scrambled into action, the ship's systems coming to life in anticipation of the unknown. Ahern watched the screen as the sleek vessel closed the distance. Was it an enemy or an ally? It was impossible to tell. Suddenly, a new transmission blared through the comms, and this time, there was no static, no distortion. The voice that came through was clear, smooth, and calm, almost eerily so. "Human vessel, we know you are confused. You do not yet understand the magnitude of what you have uncovered, but you will." Ahern's heart pounded. Who was this? Were they the ones behind the strange warning? The message about humanity's death being more than a mere end? Before she could respond, the alien vessel fired a burst of energy, striking the Vanguard's shields. The ship lurched under the impact, sending a wave of tension rippling through the bridge. "Shields holding," Lang reported, but his voice was strained. "They're not trying to destroy us, Captain. This is a warning." Ahan's mind raced. If this wasn't an attack, what was it? And why had they chosen to confront humanity now, at this moment, at the very edge of the galaxy? The strange ship hovered in front of them, its weapons still charged, ready to fire again at any moment. The crew held their breath, the unknown stretching before them like an abyss. The next few seconds would decide everything. "Stay calm," Ahan muttered, her hand gripping the armrest of her chair. "We need to know who they are and why they're here." The voice from the alien ship spoke again, each word measured and deliberate. "Humanity has become a symbol, Captain, a symbol of defiance, and symbols are dangerous." And then, the screen cut to black. The silence in the wake of the mysterious alien voice hung like a dense fog over the bridge of the Vanguard. The words echoed in Captain Ahan's mind, a lingering warning that unsettled the crew. Symbols are dangerous. The galaxy had always been a place of brutality, but now humanity was being dragged into something far more complex and far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. The stakes had just become much higher. "Captain," Lang's voice broke the silence, trembling with urgency. "They're not letting us go. The alien ship is locking on with its weapon systems." Ahan's gaze locked onto the view screen, where the sleek, otherworldly vessel loomed ominously. It had not moved, not in the time since the warning had been issued. The Vanguard's shields hummed with the strain of the energy blasts that had hit them earlier, but they had held. So far. "Return fire. Set weapons to minimum power," Ahan ordered, her voice cold, steady. "We need to buy time, not start a war." Kendra's hands flew over the tactical controls, firing a weak burst from the Vanguard's laser cannons. The beams streaked through space, but the alien ship easily absorbed the energy, its shimmering hull barely even vibrating. It was no use. Whatever these beings were, they were leagues beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. "I think they're toying with us, Captain," Kendra said quietly, her voice edged with frustration. "They're not even fighting back. They're just waiting." Ahan clenched her jaw, the uncertainty gnawing at her. There was something behind all of this, something far deeper than a simple military encounter, and she was beginning to feel it in her bones. Suddenly, the alien ship transmitted another message, its voice smooth and unsettling. "Humanity," it said, the tone distant and almost melancholic. "You have not yet learned. You were never meant to rise. Your existence is an aberration, a challenge to the balance of the galaxy." The words hit the crew like a slap. An aberration, a challenge. For the first time, Ahan felt a genuine fear creep up her spine. What had they stumbled into? "Captain," Lang interrupted her thoughts. "I'm picking up something different. The fleet, the one in the debris field, it's coming online. The ships, they're activating." Ahan's pulse quickened. The ghost fleet, the 100 or more ships that had been floating lifelessly among the wreckage were now stirring. Lights flickered on their darkened hulls, and a deep hum echoed through space, like the sound of a predator waking from a long slumber. The entire fleet was coming to life, and not a single one of them appeared friendly. "Shields up," Ahan barked, her command sharp. "Prepare for immediate evasive maneuvers." But before the crew could react, the alien ship's voice boomed through the Vanguard's comms once more. "We have watched you, human. We have watched your kind rise and fall, always clawing your way back into the stars, despite your limitations. But you do not understand what you are truly facing. This is not about you. This is about something much larger." The words hung heavy in the air. Larger? What could possibly be larger than the destruction of an entire colony, than the mystery of the ghost fleet? The alien voice continued, as if sensing their confusion. "You are a symbol of defiance, and symbols do not live long in the galaxy. Your fight will not be against us. You are about to learn the true nature of the enemy you have awakened." Ahan's mind raced. Enemy? They had assumed the Draxians were their main threat, but this was different. Whoever had built these ancient ships, whoever had constructed this eerie fleet, was not just an enemy, they were an entity, and it was clear that humanity was not their first target. "Captain," Lang shouted. The fleet? It's locking onto us, all of them. Ahern turned sharply, her eyes narrowing. The Vanguard was surrounded. The alien ship, the ghost fleet, and now, the ominous words of an enemy far more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. Captain, Kendra said, her voice barely above a whisper, I think they're preparing to fire. The screen flashed as the alien ship's weapons powered up, their energy signatures bright and deadly. The Vanguard's shields flickered dangerously, struggling to keep up with the incoming threat. Brace for impact, Ahern shouted, just as the first volley of energy blasts lit up the darkness of space. The Vanguard shook violently under the barrage, its hull rattling with the force of the hits. The bridge trembled, and sparks erupted from the consoles, sending a sharp odor of burning wiring into the air. The crew braced for the worst, but it never came. The energy blasts stopped. The screens blinked to black. The ships, all the ships, ceased their attack. Ahern's heart pounded in her chest. Was it over? No. This was only the beginning. The alien voice spoke one final time, this time softer, almost like a whisper. You will face the trials of the galaxy, humanity. You will not be the last symbol to fall. And then silence. Ahern could feel it. Something massive, something far darker, was just beginning to stir, and it wasn't the Draxians. The eerie silence that followed the alien message felt suffocating. The bridge of the Vanguard was still, save for the low hum of the failing systems. The ship had been battered, the crew shaken, but it was the words that haunted Captain Ahern most. You will face the trials of the galaxy. What trials? And why now, when humanity had barely begun to make its mark in the stars? For a long moment, Ahern stared at the blank screen, her mind racing. The alien ship, the fleet, the cryptic messages, all pointed to something far larger than a simple confrontation, and the galaxy had never felt more dangerous. Captain, Lang's voice broke through the tension. We're picking up another transmission. It's faint, but it's coming from the wreckage of Elysium 9. Ahern's eyes snapped to the comms console. Was it possible? After all that destruction, there could still be something left on that dead world. Patch it through, Ahern said, her voice sharp with growing urgency. The comms crackled to life, the transmission weak, but discernible. The voice that emerged was cold, almost robotic, but undeniably familiar. Human vessel, this is the final warning. Return to your space and forget what you've seen. The trials are not for you. Do not interfere. Ahern's stomach twisted. The voice was unmistakable. It was the same one from the alien ship. Whatever message it was trying to convey, it was clear they weren't meant to be here, but that only deepened the mystery. Who were they? Why warn humanity if they weren't directly involved? Sir, I'm getting another message, this time from the Draxians. Kendra's voice called out from tactical. They're demanding a response. They've noticed our position and are sending reinforcements. They won't wait long. Ahern's mind raced. She was caught between two forces, the alien fleet that had just threatened humanity and the ever-present Draxians, who would likely see the Vanguard's presence as an opportunity to strike. Time was running out. Send them a diplomatic message, Ahern ordered quickly, turning to Lang. Tell them we are engaged in a non-hostile investigation. We need time to assess the situation. If they fire, we'll respond with full force. Lang nodded but didn't seem convinced. Captain, that's not going to buy us much time. The Draxian fleet is 3 hours away. We'll be outnumbered. Ahern's mind raced for a solution. She couldn't afford to give in to the Draxtans, not when the alien threat was still lingering in the shadows. But the ship was damaged, its systems failing with every passing second. The Vanguard wasn't ready for a fight, especially not against two enemies at once. Then, without warning, the entire bridge shuddered violently. Red lights blinked across the room as a powerful jolt rattled the ship's hull. Ahern barely held onto her chair. Report, she barked. We're under attack, Lang shouted, his hands flying over the controls. The alien fleet is firing again, only this time they're targeting the Draxians. Ahern's eyes widened. The alien ships, which had been eerily still moments ago, were now launching precise, coordinated strikes at the incoming Draxian forces. Energy blasts shot out like blinding flashes, hitting their targets with deadly accuracy. The Draxian ships, taken by surprise, scrambled to retaliate, but it was clear they were unprepared for the assault. In mere moments, half of their fleet was decimated. "We're not in the clear yet," Kendra warned, her voice tense. "The Draxians are regrouping, and they'll be back in full force." But the alien fleet, they stopped firing. Ahan's breath caught in her throat. The attack wasn't just a skirmish. The alien fleet wasn't just defending itself. It was sending a message, a clear, unmistakable warning. The galaxy had just witnessed a power shift, and humanity was caught in the middle. "Captain, look," Lang's voice rang out. "There's a new signal coming through. It's not Draxian or alien. It's coming from the wreckage of Elysium 9. Ahan leaned forward. A new signal. What was it now? Was it a trick? Or was someone, or something, else watching from the shadows? The signal burst through the comms, clear and direct. This time, the voice was unfamiliar, and it spoke with an undeniable urgency. "Humanity, you are being tested. You are not alone in the galaxy, but you have never been more vulnerable. The trials have begun, and they will determine whether you rise or fall." Ahan's heart pounded. The words were a promise, a challenge, and deep within her, she knew this wasn't just a warning, it was a test. The Vanguard lurched again, and this time, Ahan didn't wait for the impact. She gripped the console, determination flaring in her chest. "Prepare for whatever comes next," she said, her voice hard as steel. "The galaxy has just revealed its hand, and humanity isn't backing down." The ship lurched again, throwing the crew off balance as the lights flickered wildly. It wasn't the Draxians or the alien fleet that had caused it this time. It was something else, something deeper, something far more insidious. Captain Ahan felt it in her bones. Whatever they were being drawn into was no longer about just survival. It was about a reckoning, and the trials. They were only the beginning. "Shields are down to 30%. Kendra's voice rang out, filled with urgency. "We can't take much more of this." Ahan's eyes darted to the view screen, where the remnants of the Draxian fleet were retreating, but the alien ships, silent, ominous, remained in place. Their presence was suffocating, as though they were watching, waiting for something. The eerie voice came through the comms again. "Human vessel, you have passed the first test, but the trials are far from over. Do not think you can simply flee." The words reverberated in the tense atmosphere of the bridge, sinking into Ahan's thoughts. The alien fleet had attacked and then retreated, just as mysteriously as they'd arrived. But what had the first test meant? And why had they stopped firing when they had the upper hand? "Captain," Lang said, his voice quiet, but filled with unease. "I've been running scans on the debris field. There's something hidden there. It's not just wreckage. It's like a trap." Ahan's instincts flared. "Explain." Lang brought up a series of complex scans on the screen. There, buried in the mass of broken ships and destroyed stations, was a faint but unmistakable signal, an ancient encryption, hidden beneath layers of wreckage. But this wasn't just old data. This was deliberate. "It's like they were waiting for us to find it," Lang murmured, eyes wide with realization. "Whoever left this behind knew someone would come, and they wanted us to find it." Ahan's stomach twisted. Was this the true reason behind humanity's encounter with the alien fleet? Were they meant to uncover something they weren't supposed to see? The alien voice boomed again, this time more insistent. "Humanity has already failed once. Your history is riddled with conflict, with violence. Your rise has always been marred by bloodshed. You have proven you can fight, but can you endure the trials?" Ahan's grip tightened on the console. The alien ships weren't merely threatening them. They were judging humanity, and the trials they spoke of were far from a test of strength. They were a test of humanity's very worth. "We've got incoming." Kendra's voice broke through the tension, her eyes fixed on the sensor readings. "Draxian reinforcements. They're not stopping this time. Can we fight back?" Ahan asked, her voice steady, though her pulse raced. Kendra shook her head. Not with shields down. Not unless we can get to that hidden signal and decrypt it. Whatever it is, it's the key to this. Ahern's mind raced. The Draxians were closing in fast, their reinforcements a lethal threat. But Lang's discovery, the encrypted signal buried in the debris, felt like the key to understanding this entire encounter. It was a puzzle, one that would unlock whatever game the aliens were playing with humanity. Ahern made her decision. Lang, Kendra. Prep for a salvage operation, she said, her voice full of purpose. We need to get to that signal fast. The Draxtens are a distraction, but if we don't figure out what's really going on here, we'll never make it out. As Lang and Kendra moved swiftly to prepare, Ahern turned back to the screen. The alien ships hung in space like predators, waiting to strike. The message was clear. They weren't going to let humanity off the hook so easily. And then, the alien voice returned, its tone colder than before. You think you are the first to face the trials. You are not. You are but the latest. Many have come before you, and they have failed. You will not survive what is to come. The screen flickered, and for a moment, Ahern swore she saw something in the distance. A shape, something massive, far beyond the alien fleet. It was like a shadow, looming just beyond the edge of perception. Whatever it was coming. Ahern's heart pounded in her chest. The trials had begun. And the test wasn't just for humanity. It was for the very future of the galaxy itself. The cryptic message from the alien fleet was still fresh in Captain Ahern's mind. You will not survive what is to come. The words echoed like a death knell, but it was the shadow in the distance that haunted her the most. What was out there, beyond the fleet? Whatever it was moving closer, and it wasn't something the Vanguard could face alone. The tension on the bridge was palpable as Lang, Kendra, and the rest of the crew worked feverishly to prepare the salvage operation. The alien fleet, still hovering ominously in place, had paused its attacks, but Ahern knew that was no guarantee of safety. The real threat wasn't just the Draxtens, nor the alien ships. It was the trials themselves. The trials that the galaxy's unseen masters had set in motion. We're ready to deploy the extraction team, Lang said, his voice tight. But Captain, this signal, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. The encryption is centuries old, maybe millennia. Whoever left this behind had access to technology far beyond anything humanity's ever encountered. Ahern's gaze hardened. Then it's even more critical we decode it before the Draxians reach us. Once they do, we'll be sitting ducks. Captain, Kendra interrupted, her tone filled with alarm. We're detecting something massive on long-range scans. It's not Draxian, and it's not from the alien fleet. It's too big. Ahern's breath caught. What do you mean, too big? Kendra's fingers danced over the console as she brought up the scan results. The object appeared as a distant irregular mass, an enormous shape just barely visible against the backdrop of the stars. It wasn't moving with the sleek, controlled precision of the alien ships. It was slow, almost ponderous, but it was there. The edges of the object were jagged, like some ancient broken thing. And yet there was a strange, unnatural pull to it, as if it were a force of nature itself. It's not just a ship, Kendra said, her voice shaky. It's something else. Something we can't even classify. But it's definitely heading our way. Ahern's mind raced. Whatever it was, it had appeared out of nowhere, and it wasn't part of the Draxian or alien fleets. Could this be part of the trials, or something far more dangerous? Prepare to move, Ahern ordered. Lang, start working on that encryption. We need to get to the wreckage as soon as possible. Kendra, plot a course away from that thing. It doesn't matter what it is. We need to avoid it at all costs. The crew scrambled into action, but every moment felt like a countdown to something they didn't fully understand. We're not going to outrun that thing, Captain, Kendra said. Her voice was low, filled with a sense of doom. It's gaining on us. The tension mounted as the Vanguard slowly, painfully, crept toward the debris field. Time was slipping away. Both the Draxians and the alien fleet were still threats. But this unknown force, it was different. It was massive, and its presence sent a chill down Ahern's spine. The thing was alive in a way she couldn't explain, like a slow-moving predator stalking its prey. Suddenly, Lang's voice broke through the growing sense of urgency. "Captain, I've got it. The encryption. It's unlocking. There's a message embedded in the wreckage." Ahern turned sharply. "What does it say?" Lang's fingers flew across the console, and the screen blinked to life with a series of flashing symbols. They were ancient, but they were slowly coming into focus. The message wasn't in any language they'd encountered before, but a few key words began to emerge. Final test. A new. Judgment. Entropy. You are the last. Ahern's heart pounded. The last. The message was fragmentary, but it was clear enough. Humanity had been singled out. The message wasn't just a warning, it was an ultimatum. Before she could ask Lang for more details, the ship lurched again, this time with such force that it sent everyone crashing to the floor. The lights flickered, and the alarms blared to life, signaling a new, more immediate threat. "Shields are gone," Kendra shouted from her station. "We're being hit. Something's targeting us." The bridge was plunged into chaos as the crew scrambled to regain control. Ahern struggled to her feet, her mind racing. Whatever was coming for them, whether it was the Draxians, the alien fleet, or something even more terrifying, was here, and it wasn't going to wait. The alien voice crackled through the comms again, its tone colder than ever before. "You have been warned, humanity. You have been tested. Now, you will face the consequence of your existence." Ahern's stomach tightened. The trials had begun in earnest, and whatever was coming next would push them all to their breaking point. She turned to Lang, desperation in her voice. "Get me more. What's the rest of the message?" Lang's fingers were frantic as he worked, but the final word on the screen was enough to freeze her blood. "Judgment Day is now." In the distance, the unknown object loomed closer. It was almost upon them. Whatever was inside that wreckage, whatever secrets it held, might be their only hope of surviving what was coming. But there was no more time to think. The moment the words, "Judgment Day is now," flashed across the screen, Ahern's blood ran cold. The alien voice echoed once more, a chilling reminder of the fate that was closing in on them. The unknown mass in the distance was almost upon them, and there was no longer any room for hesitation. The vanguard was out of options, and the galaxy's test was about to reach its devastating conclusion. "Captain," Kendra's voice broke through the thick air of suspense. "That thing. It's too close. We can't outrun it." Ahern's mind raced as the unknown object loomed ever closer, its massive form slowly but deliberately closing the gap. The alien fleet had stopped firing, but the air was still thick with tension. They weren't free, not by any means. And now, it seemed the galaxy itself was demanding an answer. "Lang," Ahern barked, turning toward him. "What's the rest of that message? What does it mean?" Lang's hands flew over the console, eyes wide with growing horror. The symbols were still flashing, but now they were coming together, fragmenting into something far more urgent, far more dire. "You will prove your worth, or be consumed by the trial's final phase. You are the last. The entropy is inevitable." Ahern's breath caught in her throat. Entropy, a word laden with dread. It wasn't just a test. The galaxy wasn't simply asking humanity to survive. It was threatening to wipe them out. The words made it clear. Failure wasn't just a setback. It was extinction. "We need to get out of here," Kendra said, her voice trembling. "There's no telling what that thing is. It's not like anything we've encountered before." Ahern nodded grimly, her eyes locked on the looming object now filling the view screen. But she knew one thing for certain. Running wasn't an option anymore. Whatever was happening, whatever the trials were meant to prove, humanity couldn't hide from it. Not now. "We're not running," Ahern said, her voice steel. "We're going in. We need answers. If that thing is the key to surviving the trial, then we'll face it head on." "Captain, are you sure about this?" Lang's voice was filled with disbelief. "That's a death trap. We don't know what that thing can do." "I don't have a choice," Ahern replied, eyes hard. "The trials have already begun. If we don't face whatever this is, we will be consumed." The tension on the bridge thickened as the crew scrambled to comply with Ahern's orders. Kendra rerouted power to the engines, and Lang worked frantically to keep the ship's failing systems operational. The Vanguard groaned in protest, but it was still holding together, just barely. In the distance, the massive object came closer, and Ahan felt the weight of what they were about to face. Whatever had been left behind on Elysium 9 wasn't just a message, it was a key, and now it was drawing them into its orbit. "Captain," Lang's voice was filled with urgency, "I'm picking up another signal, coming from within that massive object. It's a beacon, a warning." "Another one?" Ahan snapped, her grip tightening on the chair. "What's it saying?" Lang's eyes scanned the data, and then he looked up at her, fear written across his face. "It says, only those who have passed the trials may enter. Those who fail will be lost to the void. Choose now." Ahan's chest tightened. She had no choice. The choice had been made the moment humanity entered the galaxy's reckoning. If they turned back now, they wouldn't just fail the trial. They would prove to the galaxy that humanity wasn't worthy of its place among the stars. And if they didn't face it, the galaxy's judgment would be swift and unforgiving. "There's no turning back," she said softly, but with finality. "All hands, brace for impact. We're going in." The Vanguard shuddered as it altered course, heading directly toward the dark, massive object that loomed like a harbinger of doom. As they neared the unknown, the object's surface began to shift, revealing strange, intricate markings. Alien in origin, unmistakably old, yet still glowing faintly with an eerie, otherworldly energy. The air in the bridge grew thick with anticipation. The crew stood frozen, eyes locked on the view screen, as the Vanguard surged forward. Whatever lay ahead, whatever trial awaited them, they had no more time to prepare. And then, in a split second, the ship's hull rattled as they passed through a massive energy field surrounding the object, the stars beyond flickering out as if swallowed by darkness. The alien voice echoed one final time, this time, its tone not threatening, but somehow final. "Welcome, humanity. Your trial begins now." Ahan's heart pounded as the Vanguard crossed into the unknown. There was no way back, only forward, and in that moment she knew the galaxy was about to make humanity face its ultimate choice: live or be forgotten.